Welcome to Loving Me Before I Love You with Tammy Nicole, the podcast dedicated to you loving and putting yourself first. Others have come first in your life for years, and you know it's time for that to change. You're about to be empowered to set healthy boundaries, confidently have hard conversations, unapologetically put yourself first, and live the peaceful life you deserve. Remember, self-love is essential, and loving yourself sets the stage for every other love in your life. So get ready to embrace self-love like never before with your host, Coach Tammy Nicole.
Hey, it is Transformation Tuesday over at Loving Me Before I Love You, the podcast where we stop performing, we start healing, and we choose ourselves on purpose. Hi, I'm your host. I am Coach Tammy Nicole. I help women reclaim their voice, their worth, and their power so that they can stand in clarity, confidence, and courage. We are continuing our June series, you guys. I told you I was dedicating the month of June to men, and today is no different. We're going to stop. We're going to step into a conversation that I think is long overdue, because most of the time when we talk about men, we start talking about men from a perspective of their lack, what they don't do, why they should have done, where they failed at, what they abandoned, how they mistreated us. We always give the perspective that always seems to be, they don't know what they're doing, they can't do much. And we cannot heal communities by only discussing the brokenness. At some point, we have to talk about restoration too. So we have to talk about what happens when a man understands his purpose. What happens when he understands what provision actually means, and especially about the fact that it's more than money. We also have to talk about the fact that though paychecks pay bills, presence builds people. And so their presence, their provision, and their purpose all matter. Many of us grew up watching exhausted women carrying entire households on their back, while emotionally absent men stood somewhere in the background trying to figure themselves out. So now we have generations of women craving safety, men struggling with identity, and children trying to understand love through survival. This conversation is not about male perfection. It is about responsibility. It is about leadership. It is about emotional availability. And it's also about what happens when a man finally understands that his role is not just to exist in the home, but to pour into it. So, as a man's purpose shapes his direction, his provision shapes stability, but his presence actually shapes the emotional climate of everybody connected to him. And let's be honest, you can feel when someone is physically there, but emotionally missing. You can feel when a father is in the house, but not involved. And you can feel when a husband is present in body, but disconnected in spirit. And so our communities have suffered from that silence for generations. And today, we're going to unpack it all. We're going to basically tell the pressure men carry, the expectation they face, and the misunderstanding between men and women, and why purpose, provision, and presence are not just relationship conversations. They are community conversions. Because healthy men help build healthy families. And healthy families help build healthy communities. And healed people stop raising wounded generations. So grab your notebook, lean in, and let's have a conversation and let's talk about it. Today, my guest is FL Tha Lifecoach. He is going to join us and give us the male perspective, because clearly I'm a woman and clearly I cannot tell you how to be a man. But I do understand what his purpose, his presence, and his provision does for a family and the community. Welcome to the show, FL.
Hey, how you guys doing? I'm sorry. I'm in my car, so if you hear that little noise in the background, I'm sorry. How you guys doing today? Glad to be here, Tammy. Glad to be here. Glad for the invite, man. I'm excited about this conversation. Totally excited.
I am too. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your life coach journey and how you've been helping the community and men along the way?
Yeah. So, I've been in personal development for over 20 years now. I've been married 27 years, personal development over 20 years, wrote a book about 11 years ago called Hatch, a 21-day journey to unleashing the authentic you. So, personal development and life coaching, it's just kind of been hand in hand for me, empowering the people. But first, I always tell people you can't untie somebody until you untie yourself. So that personal development journey has been big for me. And like I said, I've been in it for almost 2 decades. Well, over 2 decades, actually. Yeah. So, and still developing. Yeah.
It never stops. It never stops.
Yeah.
When you heard the title of today's show, what was the first thoughts that came to mind?
Powerful. That's why I reached out to you when I seen the titles. So, purpose, provision, presence. The first thing that came to my mind was purpose, the why you do something, right? So for a lot of men, we are so caught up in the provision and the protection that we forget to align the why. So the first thing that jumped out to me, the purpose was the why. I always tell men this, and I tell my boys this all the time because we have 3 boys. I've been married 27 years. So I think I know a little bit of something about what I'm talking about. So the why, is just the purpose. Understanding why you're doing the things that you do in life. And then the provision, I always tell people provision is like 2 words for me. It's
Mhm.
provision. Like it's like you said, it's more than financial stability. It's providing emotional stability, mental
Mhm.
stability, spiritual stability. But the provision part is like pro, like I explained to my boys. When you're pro something, that means you're for it. So I'm
Mhm.
pro vision in my house. I'm always speaking vision in my house because I'm for the vision. So that's
Mhm.
kind of what I think about when I think about provision outside of finances and all that stuff. And then presence, that's just how you show up every day. That's just how you show up every day. Um, what are your habits? And how you show up every day is connected greatly to your daily habits, to your rhythm. I always talk about that in my 5R framework. You gotta build a rhythm around the revelation. And most people got the revelation on what to do, but they forget to build the rhythm. So, so that's what I think about when I think about presence. I think about rhythm because life is all about a rhythm. And so once you find your rhythm, you just kind of put that on repeat mode so you can show up with presence every day. So yeah,
Mhm.
that's kind of what I thought about.
I actually liked all of those, to be completely honest. Not too many people talk about provision from a standpoint of being for the vision. You're 100% right that pro means for, and we don't think about it outside of finances for the
Yes.
most part. For the most part, a lot of us look at it as, can you be a provider? And it's, what kind of job do you have? And, do you have side hustles, or, what's the income period? And I always looked at provision is from a standpoint of vision, because what's the vision for the house? You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Where are you taking us? Where are we going? It's not just in finances, it's in leadership.
Hmm.
How are you leading us? To provide means to lead, to provide guidance, to provide shelter, it's more than just finances.
I totally
So,
agree with that. Yeah, yeah. No, no, no. Go ahead, go ahead, go ahead. I was just saying I agree
no,
with you.
no, I just loved, so I loved your definition behind that and giving that level of insight. When I think about the topic as a whole, right? Purpose, when I came up with the topic, to be honest, um, I always want to shine a light on the men
Hmm.
who are actually actively trying to change the generation, change the community. Because, as you mentioned, purpose being the why, a lot of us don't know the man's true purpose
Hmm.
in essence of not just position in our lives, in the community, like, what's his purpose outside of mating with you to have fun, make kids, create families? What is his purpose? And I think a lot of us don't really know it because we don't take time to instill purpose in our young boys that grow up to be men.
Yeah,
And then,
yeah.
so when you don't do that, you get men who don't have purpose, who don't have a sense of being in a space of like, I have a reason to be here. Oh, as you said, oh, why? So, how do you help young boys grow into men that have purpose?
You know, the same way my dad kind of helped me, accountability, responsibility. You know, those are two things because we homeschool our boys. Our boys are 14, 10, and 8. And like I said, I've been married 27 years and we've been homeschooling, oh man, for probably about 6 or 7 years now. And I write words on the board every morning. And so
Mhm,
two of the words are always accountability and responsibility. So
mhm,
so I explain this to our boys like this. Accountability is when you're able to police yourself, right?
mhm,
Because accountability and integrity go hand in hand. So accountability is being able to set a standard for yourself and then holding yourself accountable to that standard. And then integrity is doing that standard when nobody's looking. So I
mhm,
teach that to them. And then the responsibility part is, you know, just taking full ownership for your decisions, no matter what they are. Like my dad taught me that coming up. Like the first thing he taught me, you know, when I moved in with him, he said, son, no matter what you do in life, if you don't remember nothing I teach you, remember this. Whatever you do, take responsibility for it, good, bad, or indifferent, because you did it.
mhm.
You made that decision, you know. So I try to instill those same things in our boys. So accountability, responsibility, self-awareness is the third thing I would say, and that's a major thing that a lot of men overlook. I'm not gonna say we don't have it, but we're too concerned with protecting and providing to go inward.
Mhm,
So I like to explain it like this. Men have deep emotions. We just don't lead with our emotions.
mhm.
So as a woman or any type of relationship, men need a safe place to express. So if we
Yeah.
don't have a safe place to express, then we really don't express. We keep it bottled up. So I always try to teach these lessons to our boys about emotional safety, right? Responsibility, accountability, and self-awareness. So yeah.
How does a man tap into his emotional depthness in a way that gives himself permission to express emotion, honestly, outside of safety? And I'm asking that from the perspective of, you may not always have a safe place per se within a relationship, but how
Hmm.
you decide that the person is safe for the moment, or do you require safety in order to even express, period? So like some of us will just say whatever because that's how we feel in this moment. It doesn't really matter who's around. It's, I own my own stuff regardless of who hears it.
Hmm.
Men having a difficulty really expressing emotion, how does one teach or give permission to him to say, you know what, this is really what I feel and I'm okay with sharing it?
Got you. Man, that's a great question. So how I would answer that, identity work. You know, I teach something
Mhm,
called the 4 legs of life: identity, relationships, health, and money. And I'm doing a series on YouTube now talking about that. If one of those legs are loose, your whole life is unstable. So I would
mhm,
say to be able to express in a place to where it might feel safe in the moment or not, that's all have to do with identity. Most of us are afraid to express because of rejection. So
mhm,
you have to build that identity leg up to do what you just said. No matter what, in the moment, if I'm feeling the need to express this, then whether I feel like it's a safe place or not, it would do me more bodily harm to hold this in. So I
mhm,
tell people this is how a lot of men burn out. A lot of men get emotionally overwhelmed because you know they hold it in. It's almost like a teapot. I tell people
mhm.
if a teapot didn't have a release valve, what would happen? The teapot would explode. You know, so
Fact.
it needs something. So I would say just leaning more into your identity, really
Mhm,
understanding who you are, gives you permission to express yourself as yourself at any time without the safe environment.
That's really good. But I don't think too many of us really consider it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't
Mm-hmm.
think we consider, and I say us, meaning the community as a whole. So many men feel like they have to have that woman that they can actually lean into, that they can actually like connect with in order for emotions to be expressed. And it's it's really not, that's not the importance.
Yeah.
However, because you guys have been taught not to have emotions, how to not express them, and when a woman misuses her power, I'm going to call it that because you did share something with her, she turned around and used it against you, 2 months, 3 years later. However, she decided it was, now a weapon and a tool. So now you don't want to tell nobody else nothing. Now you want to get into a space of, I'll just keep it to myself. And that to me
Yeah. Yeah.
sends you into a space and place of like, you know what? I'm not sharing at all. I'll keep it all in. Or you guys share with your friends. Why is it that your friends become the safe place?
Why is it that our friends become the safe place? Well,
Mm-hmm.
for a lot of guys, I mean, I can't really answer for everybody. For me, my friends was never the safe place. My wife has always been my safe place. And I'm not saying that as a cliche because I really married my best friend. I mean, that's a
Mm-hmm.
true statement. So before we even got married, I was able to tell my wife everything, but just the type of person that I am, I'm more of a expressive type of person anyway. So I mean, but why most guys, because most guys feel like their emotions, this is what I've gathered over 20 something years in coaching. Most guys feel like their emotions are going to be used against them with a woman, just
Mm-hmm.
what you just said. So they do really feel that, because a lot of women do that, but not all of them. So like I always tell guys, every woman doesn't do that. Just because it's one bad apple don't mean the whole bunch is. But for a lot of guys, I can't speak for all the guys, but for a
Yeah.
lot of guys being in personal development for over 20 years, that's the same theme that I've heard. Women use their words against them. Yeah.
So what do you tell a man who you're trying to coach and say, you know what? The safety, now this is my perspective. You can tell me if I'm wrong. But I coach my women to tell them the safety begins with you, right?
Mm-hmm.
You should feel safe within yourself before safe with someone else. And in developing safety within yourself, it allows you to just be safe in general, right? Because if I own my stuff, it's nothing you can do against me with my stuff. I know what my stuff is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, do I per se want to hear you turn around and use it as a weapon? Absolutely not. But in that moment, then I then know how to use myself to say, you know what? I know where to put you. I see how you view me, and you use that to try to hurt me. It doesn't hurt me, but it does
Mm-hmm.
give me insight of who you are and
Mm-hmm.
how I need to interact and relate to you. So, how do you teach men that the safety technically starts with them?
Hey, hope you're feeling the love in today's episode. We'll pick back up where we left off in a moment. First, we're excited to share that Tammy has a collection of self-love t-shirts, hoodies, mugs, and journals for you to express how much you love yourself to the world. From comfy hoodies to motivational mugs, there's something for everyone. While you're listening to today's show, feel free to browse the full collection at IamTammyNicole.com. Thank you, and without further ado, let's get back into today's show.
It goes back to that leg of identity. I always say that, man. You gotta know who you are outside the program. So that's kind of like my work, right? I teach nervous system work, identity work, first 7 years, subconscious programming. So put us, especially for our community. Let's just talk about our community, the men in our community, right? Most of us
Mhm.
grow up without fathers. right?
Facts.
So once we get grown, now we have to figure out manhood on our own, right?
Mm-hmm.
So because we didn't have the role model, and like you said, women can only teach us so much, right? And now that
Facts.
we're a man, if you don't see that modeled out, if you don't see that example, man, it's just difficult. So the first thing I would say is the identity part, right? You got to
Mm-hmm.
dig past the subconscious programming in the first 7 years of the patterns, right? Because you really got to get down to who you really are. Because when you really understand who you are as a man and what you bring to the table as a man, right? So I always say it like this: women, women birth life, but men give life.
Mm-hmm.
So meaning that we've always heard the saying, you get groceries and a woman makes a meal.
Yeah.
You get a house, she turns it into a home. But the man is the one that's giving the groceries. So we
Yeah.
give
He's the
life.
seed.
So I always say that. And so it comes down to identity, really understanding who you are, number one, from a being standpoint, and then what your purpose is from a man standpoint, right?
Mm.
So I teach something called the 5 P's of a regulated man, right? Prophet, priest, promoter, um, provider, protector. So those are basically like the 5 P's that a man, but most of us don't understand consciousness. Most of us don't come from consciousness. Most of us don't come from regulated homes, nervous systems. So now we're 30, 40, 50, and we're feeling all these emotions. We're feeling all this stuff in our brain, our minds. We just don't know how to regulate our body. So that's part of the identity work. So I always say it always goes back to identity, just understanding who you are, and then understanding how your brain and nervous system work so you can get into alignment with that instead of working against it. Because most people work against their brain and nervous system. So that's
Can
how
you
I
give us some examples of what that would look like if they were just listening to the show and they're like, you know what, that sounds amazing, but how do I do it? I just need a 3-step process or a 5-step. How do I do it? What would you say?
oh, so the first step is recognizing the patterns that keep you stuck. So self-awareness. So the first step is you're gonna have to sit with yourself. And that's the step that most people don't want to do long
Yeah.
enough, is to sit with themselves and really ask the deeper questions. Why do I keep doing this? Or why do I keep, you know, messing up over here? Or why do I keep saying this? So I always lead with first, it's a self-reflection. You got to
Mhm.
recognize first. You got to slow yourself down. And then the second step I would say is just a simple grounding technique. Because when you slow yourself down to reflect, when you start seeing those patterns, when you start seeing the things you need to change, when you start seeing the things you need to tighten up on, you're going to feel a certain way about that.
Mhm.
You're going to have some emotions about that. So you're going to have to regulate your body through that, because you can't get clarity or revelation without regulation. A
Mhm.
dysregulated nervous system is frantic all the
Right.
time because it's in survival mode. And then the third step, it would just be build a rhythm. I always talk about a rhythm. Find your rhythm to keep your mental intact, your emotional intact, your physical intact, your finances intact. Your Find a rhythm. So for me, my rhythm is, as soon as my eyes open in the morning, right, I go right into my breath work. I go right into my nervous system work with my affirmations. So as I'm getting up, brushing my teeth, I'm doing my mantras, I'm talking to myself, and then I go move my body. As I'm moving my body, I'm still regulating myself, right? I'm still calming my body down. I'm still getting new ideas, fresh revelation. And then once I get those, it's time for implementation, action. So now you got to put that on repeat mode. I tell people all the time, greatness is boring. People make it seem like greatness is all this extravagant stuff, but greatness is boring because greatness is a system. You got to get up every day and put it on repeat mode. So those are the 3 steps that I would give the man who's listening to this right now. Feel like, hey, I don't know what the next step is, what to do. Those
Yeah.
3 steps right there, you can do those today and start being a better version of yourself.
You mentioned doing affirmations. You know, Now, I'm not being sexist, y'all, so don't do it. Typically, women focus on speaking life into themselves. Share a little bit about the importance of a man affirming and validating himself.
Oh, totally important. That's one of the P's of a man, profit, right? So to be a prophet, you're not just a prophet for the people, you're a prophet for yourself. Everybody is a self-made prophecy. So I tell men all the time, if you look at your life where you are right now today, you're a self-made prophecy, whether you believe that or not. So the importance of speaking life over yourself, your life is demonstrating what you have spoken over yourself. So I always say, if you don't like what your life is showing you, you got to change your language because everything in life has a language to it. Poverty has a language, success has a language, everything. So that's what I would tell the man right now. Just it's important to speak life. So change your language to the life that you want and not the life that you complain about. So yeah, that's how I was kind of say that.
Oh man, that's a whole word right there because I talk to people all the time. I tell them the life that you're living is the one that you spoke into existence.
Yes.
Um, you may not physically be able to pinpoint the day you said it, right? But if you took a moment and just reflected on the conversations you've had, like the things that you did that validated and confirmed the life that you're living, you put this in place. It didn't
Yes.
just get here. There is no playbook that was given. Everybody talk about, oh, these are the cards I was dealt. No, that's the cards you played.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you did. It wasn't, God ain't just sitting out passing out decks of cards saying,
Yeah.
here's your hand, how you playing it. Most of us, most of us, you had parents that brought you to one point,
Mm-hmm.
but when you got into the adult life, you created the rest.
That's it.
And it's about your conversation all the time. What are you talking about? Who are you talking about it with? Because 9 times out of 10, your life also looks like the lives of the people around you. So
Yes.
whatever you guys are talking about all the time is keeping y'all stuck in them same little cycles because that's what you put out and that's what you get back.
Yes, yeah, man, I love that. I love that. It made me think about when you said the conversations. Most people don't even know they're having self-sabotaging conversations because they've had them so long, right?
Yeah.
So the brain and mind, like I always tell people, because I do nervous system work as well, your brain doesn't know the difference between
That's
reality and a story that you make up. So
so
it doesn't know the difference. So if you're always having conversations about what you don't have, what's going wrong. The world is this, the world is that. Your
yeah.
life begins to reflect it. So I always tell men this. I especially men, I tell everybody this, but I especially tell men this. If you keep breaking promises to yourself, your
Mhm.
life ends up looking like a broken promise. So you got to change that.
Facts.
Yeah,
Facts. I mean,
yeah,
and you don't trust yourself to do nothing that you say you're gonna do anyway. You know what I
that's
mean?
it.
Like you start living a life that says, I ain't never going to do X, Y, and Z. I'm just saying this is what I want. And the reality, I mean, my mother used to teach me as a little girl to watch your mouth because the
Yep,
Bible said your tongue is the most powerful thing on your body. If he spoke the world into existence, why you think you're not speaking yours? And
yep,
that's it's real talk because we're made in his image and his likeness. So therefore, the same things he did, we can do and we do.
yeah,
And most of us are doing it subconsciously, but we're doing it. So never
yep.
say things like I'm broke. Who broke? Not
Mm-hmm.
me.
Yep,
It doesn't matter. It don't matter what your bank account say. When you start saying you broke, you become broke in more ways than one. It doesn't just become
yep,
financial, it becomes spiritual, it becomes mental. Like everything you start thinking from a broken space, and
yeah,
nothing is ever whole. So you have to watch your tongue. You do have to speak the things that you desire as though they exist. And not a lot of people understand that the nervous system doesn't understand if it's factual or not,
Yep.
because the reality is you seek out things to confirm the thoughts and words that you say.
Yes.
So I always tell people, when you see stuff like you said, oh, I want a certain car, right? And you truly, truly, truly in the depths of your soul want a certain car, that car shows up on the street everywhere you go. You
Yes.
see it because you have manifested in your mind that that's the one you want to see all the time.
Yep.
It's as simple as that. It's as small as that. You always say, dang, I ain't never seen that car. To now I see it everywhere.
Yeah.
It's a
No,
thing
that's
that you
true.
put in place.
That is so true, man. That is, like you said, man, we are constantly manifesting. I tell people that all the time. The question is not, am I manifesting or am I changing? I always tell people the question is, what are you manifesting and what are you changing into? Because just from a simple biology level, every 7 years,
But
the human body changes with or without you. So from birth to 7 to 14, it doesn't need your participation to change. So I always tell people the question is never, are you changing? You changing, but what are you changing into? Right?
yeah,
You can either change on a subconscious level, unconsciously, or you can change intentionally, right? On
yeah,
a conscious level and really decide who you want to be, how you going to show up every single day and build the life you really don't need a vacation from. That's my motto. That's why it's on my YouTube page. Build a life you don't need a vacation from. And I stand on that. But you got to build
man, that sounds real good. But I think I'm gonna always want a vacation from this. I mean, that sounds real good. Build a life you don't need a vacation, but I be needing a vacation from the vacation. So that's what I'm saying. I don't know if that's gonna work for me because I be needing a vacation from the vacation
it. I
all the
feel that.
time.
I feel that. I feel that. I feel that.
You say vacation me from this, but then I need a vacation from the vacation. So that sounds that sounds real good. But I also want to encourage the men to, when you talk about your purpose, the provision, the presence. If I was to ask myself as a woman, which of those three I think has highest value,
um,
because I'm like ranking them, right? If
uh,
I rank them, I on one end want to say purpose, presence, then provision.
mm-hmm,
On the other end, I want to say presence, purpose, and provision. So purpose and presence are always interchanged for me because I rather your presence over anything. However,
mm-hmm,
I need you to know your purpose in your presence to actually get the benefit of the presence, if that makes sense.
yeah. Oh, yeah,
Your
that make perfect
provision
sense.
can always come on the back end for me. And that's from a financial perspective, all of it. Even though for the lack of vision, the people perish. I need you to have vision. I think your vision starts with your purpose, and your purpose relies on your presence.
Yeah, yeah. I totally agree with everything you just said about purpose and presence interchanging because you can't show up with presence without your why. You
Yeah.
got to know your why, or else it's just a shallow presence. You're not really
That-
there. If you don't know why you showing up, you're not really there. And like you
yeah.
said, the provision can always be worked out, but the purpose, the why, and then the presence, how you show up, that
hmm
matters. That matters big time. So yeah, those two go hand in hand for me as well. So I would say the same thing, purpose, presence, and then provision third. Yeah. Yeah, I would say the same thing as well.
I just want people to understand how much we as women value you guys as men in ways that don't always get spoken of. We talk about it from a negative perspective all of the time, but we need y'all just as much as y'all need us. And I think we don't sit in that fact.
Mm-hmm.
enough, because that's a fact. We need each other. Even
Mm-hmm.
though we always talk about, oh, I don't need a man, oh, I don't need a woman, I'm this, that, and the third. No, you do. Because if it wasn't necessary, he wouldn't created it.
Mm-hmm.
It is not good for man to live alone.
Be
He
alone.
said what he said. And then he
Yes,
gave
sir.
you the best option by making woman, period.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
we are the best option. Not
Man, you guys are major helpers. Major helpers. And I'm speaking from 27 years in. I tell people all the time, I couldn't do none of this without my wife. None of it. The homeschooling, the cleaning business that we've had for over 20 years. We had a cleaning business for almost 20 years. She got a baking business. We've been homeschooling. Now we're building the media company. I'm able to get out there and do what I do. I tell people I'm only able to do what I do because she allows me to spread my wings and holds it down on the back end. So like you said, we need each other. It's different roles. I just did a Soul Truth Sunday on YouTube talking about that. Me and my wife was talking about the roles of marriage and business, right? How like
mhm,
when you're building something with somebody, you really got to define the roles. It's the same way in marriage. Like you really got to, a man and a woman both are needed equally as much, right?
mhm,
But the roles are different. And that's just how it was designed. So when you really, and that's not saying a man can't be the nurturer and all that. That's not saying a woman can't be the provider. No, I'm just saying when you really understand the roles of each, that's what creates the dynamic in the
mhm.
relationship. Yeah, that's what creates the dynamic.
What would you want if you could give a message to women? Because you're talking about roles. What would you
Yeah,
want them to understand about the man's role today?
that is changed from your grandmother's and your dad's role. That is not the same role. Back then, when your grandmother and your dad, provider, right, protector, those was a major role. Emotional safety wasn't talked about. Mental safety wasn't talked about. Presence showing up. This is why I like, a lot of old school, I come home to you every day. I bring the check because that was the role. That was
Mhm,
the normal role, you know, 20 years ago or 30 years ago. So what I would say to women now that men's role has changed in the sense that we are doing more. It's a lot of regulated men out here these days. It's a lot of men who are tapping into their emotional safety, their emotional presence. It's a lot of men who are understanding their identity. It's a lot of
mhm,
men who are showing up with presence, right? So I
mhm,
would tell the women in today's world, don't expect anything less because that's the new role of a man. If they're not showing up emotionally regulated, if they're not showing up with presence, if they're not showing up with provision, if they're not showing up as the promoter, as the priest of the home, the spiritual health, right? The
mhm.
promoter of the home, the person that's lifting you up, right? And the provider and the protector, that's the new
Yeah,
role of the man. So that's what I would say. The role has changed and it's evolved into a bigger
exactly.
role, but I wouldn't even say bigger role because we should have been doing it then. It's just nobody taught us to do it then. So that's the new role now.
Yeah, I would dare to just simply say the role hasn't per se changed, it's expanded. It's gathered some extra ness to it, some more detail, some more um, design, because you're still providing, you're still protecting, you're just expanding it in a way that covers more of the details of us, because we're very detailed oriented. You
Hmm.
guys are very bold print. It's just like, I provide, I protect. What does that mean? I give all these other little subtitles to it. So I really do appreciate you joining me to discuss this, because I think a lot of men need to hear it. I think a lot of women need to understand the perspective of what purpose, provision, and presence actually mean from a male's viewpoint. How do
Uh,
someone who is like, you know what, I liked his program, I want to, hear more about it. How do they reach out to you, FL?
Man, they can just find me on all social media platforms: TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. FL The Lifecoach. FLTHA Lifecoach. You know, I got to be different, so I got to spell it different. THA. And so, or they can reach out to me through email, flthelifecoach@gmail.com. And so, and then Shopify, FL The Lifecoach. Shopify store. So that's my link. But my link is all on my social media platforms, but they can find me on any social media platform at that username. So yeah, reach out, tap in. And every Sunday, 9 a.m., I go live on YouTube. And every Tuesday at 2:30 p.m., a brand new episode of the Married Life Podcast drops every Tuesday. So tap in.
Awesome. Again, thank you so much for joining us and getting this level of conversation some light and insight. As you guys know, self-love, you are the blueprint. Love yourself so much that the love from others is a bonus. All coaching needs from me, you know exactly where to find them. Go at coaching at unpack.com. It's Transformation Tuesday. Transform, don't stay still. See you next week.
All right. Thank you, Tammy, for having me.
Awesome.
That's a wrap on another episode of Loving Me Before I Love You. If you enjoyed today's episode, please take a second to show your support by subscribing and leaving a positive rating and review on Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. Stay connected with Tammy. Make sure you're following her on Instagram and TikTok at Coach Tammy Nicole. If you like to work with Tammy or have any questions you'd like her to answer, please head over to www.IamTammyNicole.com. Until next time, always remember to love yourself so much that the love from others is a bonus.